A key part of programming is state. Rather than start with the computer science definition of state, let's go with something that might be a little more familiar: the dashboard of a car. The most noticeable parts of a car dashboard are probably its gauges and odometers. They show the car's current speed, fuel level, distance traveled, and so on, each of which is some kind of numeric quantity. Dashboards also have warning lights, such as the low oil warning light, or the "it's time to take the car to the shop for some maintenance" light. Each of these lights is either on, indicating that there's a problem that needs the driver's attention, or off. This on-off, true-false information is called a Boolean value in programming. So the information on a car's dashboard, such as speed, fuel level, whether or not the car needs maintenance, taken all together, is a visualization of the car's state. Keep in mind that the dashboard isn't the car's actual state. It's just a visualization of it. To see what I mean, think about what happens when the driver changes the car's state. For example, the driver presses the accelerator and the car starts moving faster. The dashboard then updates to show the new speed. So the car's state is how fast the car is actually moving, and the dashboard is just helping the driver visualize that fact. Internal circumstances can also change the car's state. For example, as you drive, the car burns gas. The car's state is how much gas is in the gas tank, and the dashboard hopefully updates the fuel indicator. But what happens if the car's state and dashboard aren't in sync? For example, what if your dashboard breaks and doesn't accurately show your car's speed? Well, that could be a big problem. You might get a ticket, or worse. It turns out that this type of mistake is quite common while developing an app. That is, your user interface might not accurately represent the internal state of your app. You may have sometimes come across an app with a bug like this. For example, an app that says you have 5 new messages, but when you check, you actually have a different amount. One of the nice things about Flutter is that you develop your apps in such a way that your user interfaces and your state are always consistent, which prevents these frustrating types of bugs. Let's take another look at Bullseye and think about what our app state would look like if we want to track whether or not a pop-up alert is visible when the user taps the Hit Me button. Okay, the first thing we need to do is add the alert is visible property to the game page state class. So at the very top of the class, we add bool underscore alert is visible, and we start it off as false. The underscore on alert is visible is indicating that the alert is visible property is private to this class. It turns out that when it comes to displaying a pop-up alert, there are only 2 possible conditions. Either the pop-up alert is on the screen or it isn't. When the app first starts, the pop-up alert isn't visible, so the state variable alert is visible is false. What we want to happen is that when the user taps the Hit Me button, we'll change the state to reflect the fact that the alert is now visible and also write a method to show the alert. We're going to show the alert from the onPressed handler for the flat button. So here we're going to set alert is visible equal to true. So I do this dot underscore alert is visible equals true. Now we've updated the state of game page state to reflect the fact that the alert is going to be showing. This means that the alert is visible property that we're talking about is the one that belongs to this particular game page state. Using this is optional in most cases, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Next, we need to write the code to show the alert. I'm going to add a show alert method to contain all of that code. We'll talk more about writing methods later in the course. So I'll go down below the build method, and I want to type void underscore show alert. The show alert needs what's called a build context. So we pass that into the show alert function. As we'll talk about later, when this function is called, all of the code in the curly braces is going to run when the show alert function is called. The alert is going to have a button that the user can click to dismiss the alert, and we're going to call that OK button. So the first thing we need to do is create that OK button. It's going to be a widget, so we type in widget, OK button. And it's actually going to be a flat button widget. The button needs a text for its label, so we'll do text. And the text is going to say awesome. And just like the hit me button, this flat button needs an onPressed handler, so we do onPressed. And some parentheses, and then braces for the handler itself. Inside onPressed, we're going to call a function on a navigator that's going to close the alert. So we do navigator dot of context, and then call pop. So that line right there is going to close the alert. Since the alert is closed, we want to set alert is visible to false. So this dot alert is visible equals false. And we'll print a statement to the console showing that the button has been pressed. And we'll include the value of alert is visible in that output. The syntax here with the $sign is something called string interpolation that we'll talk about more later. And then we need a semicolon after our definition of the OK button. Now that we have an OK button, we can show the alert itself. We'll do that with a built-in method called showDialog. And the dialog needs a context. And it also takes what's called a builder. So we do builder. And we pass the build context. So just like the flat button onPressed, we have a set of braces in which the builder code goes. And inside the builder, we want to return an alert dialog. And the first thing we'll do is give the alert dialog a title. And it will be a text widget, in which we show the text hello there. Then it needs content. The content will be another text widget. This time showing this is my first pop-up. And then the alert dialog needs a set of actions, which are other widgets. And for those actions, we're just going to use the OK button we created. And we're going to specify an elevation for the alert dialog. And we need a semicolon. And then another semicolon. And we're getting an error on actions. That error is just that we're missing a comma here after the content. You see there that Visual Studio Code was formatting the Dart code as I was saving the file. And I mentioned earlier that what you like to do is put in commas after each of the properties that you're passing into these widgets. That helps Visual Studio Code format the code correctly. So just to review, our showAlert method creates an OK button, then calls showDialog and builds an alert dialog, which has some text, and then uses our OK button to dismiss the dialog. Now that we have our showAlert method, we just need to call it when the hit me button is pressed. So I'm going to go here and do showAlert and pass in the context. The context we're passing in here comes from the build method itself. With that, we can run the app by hitting Control F5, switching to our emulator. And when the app starts up, we can hit me. And there's our first pop-up. Awesome. If I go back to VS Code and show the debug console, you see our button pressed print statement and our awesome pressed print statement. And the value false was the value of alert is visible when the awesome button was pressed. Congratulations! You've just written your first Dart method. What you just did may have seemed like gibberish to you, but that shouldn't matter. We'll take it one small step at a time. You can now strike off the first two items from your to-do list, putting a button on the screen and showing a pop-up alert when the user taps the button. We used a state variable to track whether or not the pop-up alert was visible. Now, it will turn out later that we don't really need that variable, and instead we'll use another object to track the state of our game. But the true-false value we have now was a good place to get started thinking about state. Take a little break, let it all sink in, and come back when you're ready for more. You're only just getting started.